Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another podcast of the Black Dog Confessional.
Weren't we just here?
Oh, we were doing podcast 17 before. This is now podcast 18.
Oh, look at you. You can count without your shoes off.
You're lucky because I would have needed my toes.
I'm very impressed.
Today we have Leonard Jones with us. Leonard does his own video blog called Through My Eyes with Leonard Jones, and we wanted to bring him on today and kind of do like a little collab. Collaboration. I didn't want to go too big of a word for you. It's Sunday. You haven't shaved.
It's a collaboration, though. Again, you're using words you just...
This is why I keep Chris around. What do you think of, well, we won't go into Chris's hair again. But
collab.
So anyway, we have Leonard here with us.
Yep.
Yep. And that's pretty much Leonard's contribution today. We're good to go. Thank you all for joining us. So Leonard, you do a vlog. Why'd you start doing a vlog?
Well, the reason being is every day at work I run into citizens and I watch interactions between other officers and deputies and citizens. And I just felt like citizens were uninformed as to what's going on and why things are happening to them. So I felt I'd do this to try to explain some of the situations so they can kind of understand what's going on rather than being in the dark and just being told what to do and what not to do.
Gotcha. So how long ago did you start doing this?
This is brand new. I'm going on my 5th week now. So.
Gotcha. You do what, 2 a week?
1 a week right now.
1 a week right now?
Yep.
Do you have a schedule of stuff you want to talk about, or just whatever pops in, whatever you see?
Whatever pops up. I have some things that I think about that I think people may want to know, but then when I'm at work, if I run across a situation and I feel like, hey, that's a good topic, people may want to know about that, then I'll use that. That's kind of how I've been working it.
I think one of the things I'm most impressed about is the amount of suits you have to be able to do this. And your awesome green screen work behind it. It's good stuff. Did you set that up in your house?
I did.
Wife was okay with that?
Yeah. I got my own little man cave, so I got everything set up right there, so it doesn't
so you went and put
anything.
A green screen.
You know what cracks me up is like, we have the office, which will be a baby room soon enough, but, every time I get an Amazon package, I like scurry to the back room real quick, and Maria's like, "What's in that box?" I'm like, "Nothing, just stuff for."
Yeah, but that's because it could be some ridiculous thing you bought that you'll never use again. Throwing knives, kayaks, paddle boards. This dumbass told me the other day. He goes, "I want to start throwing axes. I think I'll be good at that." Yeah, exactly.
I want to see that. Make sure you send me a video of that.
No,
I don't want to be there when it happens.
We have to go to that backyard place.
I'm not going there with you.
Backyard games. You'll go with me, Jesse? Jesse wants to go with me.
I will go, but I want to be put on your life insurance with Maria as a beneficiary.
Yeah.
I can throw a mean axe more than I could throw a mean axe.
Have you ever thrown an axe?
I actually have thrown an axe. I actually do better with axes than I do with knives. Knives, it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So, when you're doing this stuff, Leonard, you obviously decided you want to take a leadership role.
Right.
What inspired you to take that leadership role?
Well, I mean, I don't know anybody else is doing it, so I felt like, hey, why not me? I'm the one that got my feet on the ground. I know what's going on. I know the situations and the stories that I encounter, and who better to put it out there but me. Gotcha.
And you obviously take a business approach. You, like Chris said, you do have a plethora. I'm going to use a big word for Chris. A plethora of lovely suits today.
Well, thank you very much. I try to look good.
Somebody watched the Three Amigos.
Is that what that's from?
Would you say I have a plethora of balloons?
But no, I do have a pretty nice wardrobe. Not to brag or anything like that, but I just like to look good. The reason I chose that type of setting was because I wanted to do it on my own, if you will. I don't have any backing or anything like that. I'm not representing anybody or anything. It's just me, my views from what I see to put it out there. So that's why I wear civilian clothes. I chose that type of attire to look more professional, and that's just the way that I am. So I felt like that'd be my own twist to it.
Well, just so you know, that is Chris's nicest shirt in his closet.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you press it?
Yeah. No.
He took it out of the dryer.
It
even took it out of the laundry basket.
Yeah, it was in the laundry basket.
But I'm kind of excited because his hat actually matches his shirt today, which is and your sandals. Oh my gosh!
Is it supposed to?
You're
do that?
color coordinated.
Why is your hat supposed to match his shirt?
I don't know. I was just saying. I was giving you credit for color coordination.
I like to coordinate too, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You
I like to coordinate.
You dress better than I do. I think we've established that.
So you go decide to take this leadership role. Obviously, you said you're a one-man army right now. You're kind of doing this on your own. Leadership is obviously something Chris and I love to talk about. Best part about leadership is everybody has their own interpretation of leadership. You know, what it means, how it works, how it coordinates. And you know, Chris and I, we have good discussions on leadership all the time because Chris and I have different viewpoints, and that's the only way to be a better leader is to kind of listen to everybody else's viewpoint and kind of see how things go.
But one of the better ways, you still have to do it. I mean, you can read every book and you can talk any way you want, but
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, get when you talk, get like a fist.
I'll get right here.
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
can you do that again?
A little bit better.
Yeah,
that was it.
Did you say Leonard B. Bear?
No, I said that a little bit better.
Oh, I thought you were dropping a rhyme on us.
No. Hey, that was back in the day.
Oh, I know. I have the CD at home.
Oh, you still got it?
Oh, I still got it. You know I do.
Man.
Yeah, there's a few floating around.
Oh, man. I don't know about, can we even play that on here? I mean,
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Oh, it's good. Yeah. You'll have to put, I think you got to put an E on there. I don't know. It was a Will Smith rap album, right?
It was something like
It was
that.
a Will Smith rap album. I can totally picture you in like an LL Cool J attire from 1994.
Yeah.
You know?
Like my Kango going.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyway, so you're talking about leadership.
Yeah. You know, everybody has different theories. We've talked about it. You know, there's an author named Goldman who writes there's 6 different styles of leadership, but none of them are perfect. You know, and everyone has to be adapted to different people.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you decided to take on this role, you did it for a reason.
Right.
What was your mentality?
The reason being is actually it's always been kind of floating around my head about doing something like this, but I didn't have any type of idea how I was going to do it or anything like that. But there was one situation that took place where I responded to a call as a backup unit, and I was just watching how the interaction between the deputy and the citizens was, and of course there was nothing wrong that took place. However, the citizen they didn't like what was going on and didn't understand what was going on. And I felt like, you know what, instead of just us telling people and making people do things by being law enforcement officers, how about we kind of educate them so they'll know what's going on and know why things are going on. So maybe they won't be so resistant when they interact with us. And that's why I chose to do it this way.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you do, what is the usual length of your vlog?
I try to keep it under 5 minutes. I don't want people to look at the time limit and be like, oh, man, I'm not going to sit down here for 10 minutes and listen to him talk or anything like that. So I try to keep it under 5 minutes so that way it'll be just enough time where people can say, oh, I'll sit here for 3 or 4 minutes and watch what he has to say. And I feel like that's a comfortable time for right now. Maybe I'll make it longer, but right now that's all I got.
I think you're right. I mean, when you're putting up videos like that on Facebook, or are you doing them to YouTube yet, or just Facebook?
Yeah, no, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's the time you need to just grab someone's attention,
right?
Get your message, because it's so easy now, like you're saying with the time,
right?
Someone go, oh, all right, I'm 7 minutes in this. I'm gonna go watch boat fails,
right?
You know, whatever pops up on the little side there.
Because I know whenever I go in there and I see videos and I look at the time limit, I'm like, I don't really want to spend this amount of time watching this, so I'm gonna pass it. So I make it easier for people.
Yeah.
What is it called? Bathroom footage.
Yeah.
Bathroom footage. Yeah. You know, like people are like, oh, I got 5 minutes. You know, like, I'll tune in right now. You know, but 30 minutes, no way. I'll go numb. You know, we have to get up and keep going. You know,
the automatic bathroom lights turn off.
Yeah. Oh no. You know. Darn again. But you know, taking on that role of leadership, I mean, it's important. We talk about it all the time. There's lots of 2-second videos that people use. They'll narrow it down to a 10-second clip, which was a total story of 10 minutes. But this was what was newsworthy, or this was the hook. You know, but that may not be the whole picture. You know, taking a role in the community and being able to have those type of conversations, it really does open up minds. I know we've talked before. You have goals of doing this on a bigger scale eventually.
Right.
What would be your overall goal?
Fox News.
Oh man, something like that. You know, something on that type of scale. If I can get that big or whatnot. But really, right now, all I'm really focused on is trying to grasp the attention of as many people as I possibly can to try to educate them on certain situations. And the goal behind that is to, first off, law enforcement is not going anywhere. Right. Citizens are not going anywhere. We're all going to be here. So we need to find a way to work together instead of fighting against each other and making it worse. Of course, it's going to happen, but if we can minimize that, that's what my goal is, to try to help people, and not just citizens, but also law enforcement officers too, because there's some things that happens to people out there that's not right, that needs to be addressed. And this also gives people a voice, because some of the followers that I have are law enforcement officers. So when people raise concerns, those law enforcement officers can see those concerns and read about them and hear what it is that other people are saying and interact as well. So that way it resonates through a whole bunch of people and not just me. And then hopefully we could just continue that spiral going and reach as many people as possible, so that way we can try to bridge this gap.
Yeah, I'm big on transparency. I think for years and years and years, the law enforcement community was very, very tight.
Yeah.
As far as releasing information and how it went, and now, I mean, you see how things are. I mean, they use social media left and right. Constantly pushing through that aspect of transparency to say, hey, here's not the 2-second clip. Here's the 5-minute video if you want to go watch the whole thing. Who was it? They just released a video from another up north that as soon as it happened, the video was released. It was a body cam video that got released like almost instantaneously. And their goal was to say, hey, look, we want to give you the whole picture now. We're giving transparency. Because they're trying to prevent riots, whatever. They're trying to prevent an uprising or something that would cause more damage to the community. And I'm very pro that. I'm a big supporter of transparency. I think not only does transparency help the community from just the standpoint of interacting with law enforcement, but from the aspect of budgetary needs and how the county is growing. You know, the bigger the county grows, the more need. You know, whether it's any type of public service, firefighters, law enforcement, and you pick it, you name it. You know, and that concept of leadership has to be taken from somebody at some point. I respect the fact that, you know, you're putting yourself out there.
Right.
Because legitimately you are, especially when you get into topics like this. You definitely put yourself out there.
Well, the thing about that is, I wasn't afraid of doing that. You know, I mean, I know the cost that comes with it, right? And I'm very careful and cautious how I approach this situation. You know, I got to have one foot on this side of the line, the other foot on that side of the line, trying to speak sides for both, you know, trying to give people a voice, and also not trying to take away from my brothers and sisters, you know, that wear a badge to try to do the job that we're doing. But there are situations out there where both sides need to understand each other. And what I'm trying to do is just trying to provide a platform for that to happen. You know, like I said, for people to voice their opinions. You know, somebody got to have a voice for the people, because if not, no one's going to hear them. You know, I mean, there's leaders out there, but that's only when big things happen. You know, whenever there's a big situation to take place, yeah, it's national news, it's all over the radio, it's all over the TVs. But when everyday instances happen, everyday situations happen, that affects the people. And that right there is what causes people to develop their thoughts about us.
Absolutely.
So if I can attack that right there, when something big happens, then people won't be so judgmental. You know, people will try to see it from different sides.
No, absolutely. You know, we can take any different topic. We could talk about, you know, politics. We could talk about law enforcement. The big thing is having people that are willing to communicate.
Right.
You know, it's not about yelling. It's not about fighting. It's about communicating.
Right.
When I teach, I tell everybody, hey, I have one rule in my class: you can't get butthurt. Everybody has the right to an opinion. If you don't like their opinion, that's fine. You have your opinion. You guys can discuss it, and maybe through conversation, we can find a level playing field that everybody can go, okay, I get that. I hear your opinion. I may not agree with it, but I hear it.
Right.
You know, but that's where things get developed. That's how problems get solved. Unfortunately, we see too much. We're going to yell at each other and yell at each other and yell at each other, and nobody's listening.
Right.
They're just the voices keep getting louder and louder and louder, and no progress takes place.
Correct.
You know, Chris.
One thing that's a problem with what you see on like TV and stuff, right? When you have these news interviews, and say it's, you know, whatever major news network, and they've got a panel of like, you know, 3 or 4 people on there, and 2 of them think one way and 2 of them think the other way. Well, they've only got 3-4 minutes to get their point across, so it just turns into a shouting match between each one. There's no way anything gets resolved in something like that, and I think that's why you've seen the growth of things like podcasts, like long form discussion, because we can sit here and have a talk with Leonard for an hour, or, you know, 55 minutes minus breaks, whatever it ends up being, and actually get through stuff and have a discussion, rather than, no, I got 4 minutes, I have to get whatever my major point is out and move on. And so,
and those people are also being paid for an agenda.
Right. Well,
That they have to toe that line. They have to spit that verb, and that's where an issue comes out too, because then you start getting the fake reality, the fake reality of things, the misinformation. We have to be real about stuff.
Yeah.
We have to talk. If you have a conflict between two people, not everybody's an altar boy. Not everybody's the Pope. Not everybody's this perfect person. There was reality to it. Let's discuss the reality.
Right.
But sometimes people don't want to see that. They have what their perspective is,
Right.
and they're not going to change that.
Right.
At least through what you're doing, you're providing a dialogue and a platform for people to actually go, all right, well, okay, I see his point. I may not agree with it, but I see it.
Right.
Well,
with that said, everybody has their own perspective based on what it is they see. Okay, citizens, they always, whenever they see something happening, whatever they think about what they've seen before or what they heard before or what they're watching right now is all they know, and that's what they see. However, law enforcement look at things from a bigger perspective. We know what's going on in the entire city. So there's things that people don't know that law enforcement actually knows. And when I can't give information about specific incidents that happen when they happen. Okay, but if you can tell people about certain situations that they're encountering, the next time that situation happens to them, they won't be so one-sided about it, because they will already be in their mind. They will be like, okay, well, before I act this way, or before I say this, before I say that, let me go ahead and change my perspective, if you will, because you're looking at it from somebody else's eyes. And not only that, a lot of the stuff that's going on happens to all races. It's a lot of African Americans that have a lot of stuff that's going on, and they feel a certain way about law enforcement. Well, I'm African American myself, and I'm also a deputy sheriff.
Whoa.
Yeah,
whoa.
can't you tell? Can't you tell? So
really?
So when I talk, I'm talking. I will hope that you will understand me and trust in what it is that I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just. And that's why you have to be careful to not take sides, but to put information out there so everybody can understand, and to be common amongst people, and not offend this person, not offend that person, but be truthful. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, you're talking about emotional intelligence,
Right.
which is EI is like a huge thing. Getting that emotional buy-in from people.
Right.
And sometimes you're right. It is culturally. Obviously, my wife. My wife's Hispanic. And there's times where when we first got together, I didn't understand certain things, because her culture is different than my culture was
Right.
growing up.
Right.
And so she would have to explain it, this is why we do this. We're very family oriented. We're very this. We're very that. And I'd go, okay. Like I always joke, white people, when we good job, son, good job. There you go.
Right.
Like her dad's like, come here, give me a hug, I'll kiss you on the cheek. I'm like, whoa, hey, what's going on? I'm not used to this. You're in my space now. You know.
Right.
But Maria was like, no, this is how we react. And I learned a lot about cultures through our relationship.
Right.
But you're right. You talk about African American. Being African American, you immediately have a connection that I won't in that community. Right. And it means it has nothing to do with a person's perspective. It just has to do with cultural, how you were raised.
And a thing to piggyback off of that is people, especially from the law enforcement side, as far as officers or deputies or whatever they are, you get what you get. They put out there on the streets, whatever race you are, whatever culture, whatever background you're from. So a lot of times people are culturally detached from the neighborhoods in which they're patrolling. Mm-hmm. So you don't really understand what's going on in that neighborhood. You just know, hey, this is what the law says, this is what I'm going to do. But you don't understand the way of life in that neighborhood or this neighborhood. And to be able to look at things and try to understand why, not just point the finger and make people feel belittled and do what you have to do to get the job done, but also show people that you are trying to help out. Not that you're just out there on the streets just trying to clean up the streets or throw as many people in jail as possible. There's a reason for what it is that you're doing, and this is why you're doing it.
Are you suggesting they should have some community engagement where they actually learn about the area that you're patrolling and trying to keep safe? Because I've seen that's where law enforcement officers that I've been around and have worked with have had the most success when, if you do get put in an area where maybe you're not from, or like you're saying, you don't understand the cultural stuff that goes on there. Well, learn about it. Spend some time there. Talk to people. Understand how things are going and why, and get to know the area and the people in which you're serving, and that will help with all of that.
Right.
And I think we see a lot of that too when you look at. We've had incidences around here that could have gone really sideways really fast. You know, whether between law enforcement and citizens, where we could have had riots or just a massive. I don't want to say right, some sort of demonstration happened, but because of the community engagement between the law enforcement officers or the agency in whole, you know, everybody kind of understood, okay, this, and they were able to have that buy-in and talk and figure it out.
Right.
When you look at a place like Ferguson, you know, you have that incident, and the reason that gets so bad is the law enforcement officers and the agency and the city had no teamwork. They never talked to each other. It was pretty much us versus them,
Right.
and so.
And waiting several weeks to release the video was just bad decision making.
Well, yeah, but in that time and age, you know, that's when we first started learning that you have to start doing this stuff, and you have to have the transparency. You have to get out in front of. You have to get out of it, because then what happens is, okay, so I see it happen, and I tell Leonard what I saw, but it's changed a little bit, and then Leonard tells you what I told him, right? And by the time you get to Jesse, it gets so much worse.
Well, not only that, while law enforcement was waiting to put out the news to get the investigation correctly, there's people out there that's recording things.
Right.
And there's a whole nother, you know, source of information that's out there. You know, everybody has a cell phone, so stuff is circulating out there, and opinions are being formed. And whenever there's an opinion being formed and it goes against what the overall result is, then all of a sudden it's going to be a problem.
Right.
You know, instead of just putting it out there right now, this is what's going on, this is what happened. Of course, you can't give the details about the investigation, but
as much as you can
keep it open.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, we not only see that, we also see it in age gaps too. I mean, I remember trying to talk to a guy when I was brand new, and brand new agent, and he was he's like, "Could you send in an adult?" And I was like, "What? I am an adult." Nope. Can you send? I sent Randy Holiday. You know, he saw that gray in the beard, and he was like, "Ah, finally a grown man. Come on in and sit down."
Right.
But you know, his mentality was, "What can you tell me about my life?
Right.
You're just a child."
Yes.
Right. You know, and that. We see a lot of that.
We see a lot of younger law enforcement officers being put out there to deal with grown people stuff. Person that's young in the job, it's no fault of their own.
Yeah.
But how you gonna tell somebody that's been married for 20 years how to deal with their messed up divorce or messed up relationship that's leading to a divorce? You know, how you gonna deal with that?
They have 12, 13, 14-year-old kids that are causing problems at home, and you've got a 23-year-old cop telling them, "Hey, this is how you should parent them."
Right.
You know, and it's it's difficult. I mean, I think
very difficult.
The law enforcement officers I think that do the best have always been the ones that come in with some sort of life experience. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. We have friends who started when they were 18, 19, and are phenomenal cops, supervisors, everything.
Right.
But the majority of them, you have to have some life experience, so that way you can relate.
Right. And a lot of the officers, of course, you know, they come from military backgrounds, from all type of different backgrounds, you know, and then of course you got the younger ones out there as well. Those are ones that have to be molded, if you will. That's why you have to have some experienced cops out there along with, you know, new cops. And you can't just put a young person out there and just, hey, go out here and handle this situation.
Right.
Go out there and handle. They have to be properly trained. Yeah, go save the world. You know, because all you know right now is just what the book says, what the statute says. That's all you really know. You don't really understand the circumstances behind that.
Right.
You know, and I think that right there is what people have a problem with, because it's one thing to go out and enforce the law. You know, we can all do that. Okay, the law says this, that, you go and enforce that. However, the person that's on the other side of that have a situation. That's why every time you go and talk to someone, they're always talking because they got to get what they need to say out.
Right.
You know, they need to explain why this happened, or why she did this, why he did that, or why I did this. And no one's listening. It's just put your hands behind your back, this and that. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody do something and you need to go to jail, then by all means, I'm all about that. You do it, you go on.
Right.
You taking a ride. That ain't it. But there are certain situations, is what I'm talking about, where I think we could be a little bit more transparent and a little more lenient and open.
Well, I think a lot of that comes with not treating them like you're programming a computer. You know, like a lot of people don't want to be treated like every call is cookie cutter.
Right.
You know, we handle the same call every single way because everybody wants to be treated as a human, and it's humanizing that aspect of, hey, I get it. You have a problem. I understand your problem. This is how I'm going to tell you to deal with it. But if you walk up and say, I get you have a problem, it's not my problem. You're gonna do this, do this, do this, this. If you don't do it, that's your fault. And people go, well, you didn't really help me, you know, and they just they want the humanized aspect of it.
Well, that's in the whole thing. I mean, we've all been training officers. Some of us were better than others. I think Leonard can attest to that. And
you gonna let them say that about you?
I don't know.
But anyway, and we've all had the new officer who, you know, goes to the burglary, whether it's a residential burglary, vehicle burglary, and they're just, okay, well, I need to take pictures, I need to take prints. What time did you leave? When did you come back? What was missing? Fill this out. And they go to leave, and you're like, okay, do you understand what just happened to this person, though? This person was just violated, whether it was their car, especially if it was their house.
Right.
You spend some time and talk to them, let them know, you know, hey, here's what we can do to keep you safe. You know, we'll make sure we do some extra patrols. This stuff you can do in the future. You don't need to just be a robot and go in there and, all right, I need to make sure I have this paperwork filled out and this paperwork filled out, and now I'm going to go type my report. You know, and I think I don't say numb, but we get
desensitized.
Yeah.
Well, what that is, a lot of times whenever we as law enforcement officers deal with citizens, it's normally when something bad happens.
Right.
They're going through something devastating has took place, so they're not thinking correctly. They're emotional right now. They're caught up in whatever situation they're in. So that alone is enough to be difficult to deal with.
Right.
You know, so they're not receptive of what you're saying. All they know is this just happened to me, and you're here telling me this. You need to give me this. You need to give me that. Well, you need to do this. You need to do that. Rather than when this is over, how am I going to continue on with my life?
Right.
You know, and that's what I think people get caught up with, and not just for that situation, because every time we deal with a citizen, that interaction is going to affect the next officer that person runs across, and then the next one, and the next one, and that's how it starts. So if we can
have a positive interaction as best you can.
Correct.
Because you're absolutely right. I mean, the majority of interaction with law enforcement is negative. Whether, like I said, somebody broke into your house, a loved one got hurt, you got hurt.
Well, hold on. Let me combat that real quick. I'll combat that real quick. Only because most interaction with law enforcement that's bad is reactive.
Right.
The proactive stuff that we do is totally different.
Correct. But the majority, though, of most people's interaction with law enforcement is going to be reactive, which makes it, or you know, you're getting stopped because you were speeding. Now it's your damn fault. Shouldn't have been speeding. But you know, it's a negative aspect, and I think. But what you're saying, if you can turn that at least into some sort of as positive as you can. Obviously, you're not gonna. Somebody's house just got broken into. You're not gonna walk out of there and it's gonna be sunshine and rainbows for them when you leave.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now, the way that it is if somebody see the police lights on somewhere, they automatically think, "Oh my God, what's somebody do?" Or the police out there messing with people. You know, they're harassing this person. They're doing this or doing that. Well, what if
or they're on the Facebook group? What's going on in Century and US 1? Anybody know what's going on? There were 2 cops. What's going on? Why are they doing this? What's going on?
But you know, they could be, say, stopping a car that just robbed a bank.
Right.
You know, they could be
changing a flat tire,
or they could be helping somebody that's sick in the car, or you know, anything. You just never know. But that's just what the mind automatically goes to. It's a negative reaction every time you see the law enforcement engaged in doing something, and that's kind of what I wanted to try to change, or at least to help change.
Yeah. See, I think, like, I agree with a large portion of that. My only thing I'll throw out there is 15 years ago, I would say, yeah, most of the time you're dealing with law enforcement, it's a reactive, probably not a good meeting, you know. Today, I think through the use of social media, law enforcement has kind of taken a new approach towards positive interaction. And I think we're starting to see a lot more of a change in that mindset, where because of the transparency, because of the willingness of law enforcement leaders throughout the country to be more transparent and to actually have meetings where community discussions are brought out, I think we're starting to see a little bit more of a mindset change. Now, I will say this. You're going to probably look at how much of the community that actually deals with law enforcement on a regular basis.
Right.
And that's a part where you're going to have to put extra effort in. That's where PAL programs come into play. Doing some of these educational programs, which they've been doing at community centers now, you know, helping people be able to get their GEDs. But that's a partnership thing too. It's not only just law enforcement, but it's law enforcement working with other networking groups, whether it be, you know, Keeper of Our Beautiful, or I bring up Keeper of Our Beautiful only because we had Bobbitt on the show, and Bobbitt is now in charge of Keep It Raw Beautiful. And he does things where he's like, hey, it'd be great if I could team up with whatever law enforcement agency to get this task done. And through those networking, I think we're starting to see a little bit of an upswing in areas where maybe we didn't have the same touch before, because of the connotations, because of the history also. It's hard. A lot of people base their perspective off of the incidents that happened in the past.
Correct.
So in order to change that, you have to create new incidents for their past.
Right.
So through those positive activities is where people start to go, all right, well, you know what? Yeah, maybe my parents dealt with this or my grandparents dealt with that, but that's not what I've seen. It's not always officer friendly, but it's because there's an even keel with that.
Right.
But I can go on Facebook right now and probably go to 50 different agencies that are doing positive programs to try and benefit their community. And through that, I think we developed that connectivity, that emotional buy-in from people that maybe we didn't get before. But it's putting the effort in.
Right.
And the use of social media has been so great because instead of Leonard going and being able to meet with 15 people at a church or, a local community or a PAL program, now Leonard's able to reach thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people via social media through doing video blogs or us doing the podcast. It makes us get the message out. One of the things that you brought up is when we do leave a scene, that person still has to sit there and deal with it. Yep. And when we had Renee on the show and she was talking about how her daughter, her death by suicide, we go there, we help them deal with that initial thing, but then we leave.
Right.
And how do you continue on? How does that person keep going on? And having that emotional connectivity when you go to a call and say, hey, I know this is your house just got broken into. This is terrible, but we're going to do everything we can. It at least gives them that reassurance that we're doing our part on our end.
Right.
But it is about developing that connectivity and opening that door like you've decided to do.
Yeah. Well, along with that is, just like you said, people, they have circumstances that take place which lead them to live a certain type of lifestyle or which causes certain things to happen. And when law enforcement arrive, you can't fix a lifetime worth of problems and struggles in 15, 20 minutes.
No.
So once that's done, once you leave, there's more problems. And taking somebody to jail or making somebody feel belittled is only going to make their situation even worse, because initially if somebody calls in for help or for some type of assistance and law enforcement responds, I think we should be able to give them that. However, if they don't need that or if they, like I said earlier, if they need to go to jail or something like that, then by all means, that's what happens. But the impression that you leave on people, I think will go a long way, because I've seen it several times to where you respond to a situation, you do what you got to do to gain control. Of course, you got to come in hard to gain control. Once you gain control, once it's all played down and everything is calmed down and you explain things to people, they tend to understand more at that point in time because they're thinking rationally, okay? But we have to be able and willing to do that and not just point the finger. And that's on both sides.
Yeah, and
that's on both sides.
We're also at a different generation too, where this is the why generation. Why is this going on? Why did this happen? Can you explain this? Why? And before, when my grandpa started in law enforcement, I mean, you gotta think he's been retired a minute now, and he did 50 years in the game. 50 years. That was
using terminology. Just stop, dude.
Okay. Would you like me to speak more professionally, Crystal?
I just want you to,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. He's been retired for a while, and he spent 50 years doing the job.
Yes, that's
exactly. He's been retired for a minute, and
what, Chris?
You just stop.
He has no sense of conversation. He has no.
I know. Right.
How do you guys successfully do this?
Yeah,
you go back and forth every time.
Yeah,
every time.
This is our relationship, though. This is our relationship. He knows I'm the alpha and he's the beta, and at the end.
Oh yeah. I think it's how everybody thinks this goes.
I am the big spoon, Chris. I am the big spoon.
Okay. Whatever makes you feel better, buddy.
But getting back in the leadership mindset of things. When you take a role like this, you put yourself out there, but you put yourself out there not only I'm sure there's people in your family alone that would probably disagree with some of the things you say. And how does that work?
Well, there's different audiences, of course. You know, you're not going to satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
However, I will share this with you. I've gotten people to say, "That's good what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You're giving us a voice. You know, or you enlighten me on this or that or whatever the case may be." And then I got people that worry about when I go to work, coming home, you know, and the things that go on. Nobody really understands that but the loved ones of a law enforcement officer, because you know what they deal with, and then you want that person to come home. So somebody that don't have anybody in their family or anything like that, they don't have that same connection. You know what I'm saying? So when you're dealing with people like that, and I don't know.
You know, I can tell you, I relate a lot of things to you use cancer as an example. People don't care about they may not get involved in a cancer program unless they have somebody who's been affected by cancer, and they go, okay, now I've seen this, so now I want to participate in helping this.
Right.
You know, I see it a lot with dealing with St. Baldrick's. You know, there's a lot of people that go, well, I've never had a child with cancer, but my friend had a nephew, and now I'm going to support this program. And like you brought up the law enforcement aspect of it. You know, there's a lot of people who are like, okay, I go to bed at night, and I know if something were to happen, I'm going to call 911. Police are going to show up.
Right.
You know, they don't really think about the connectivity to the family, and until you start to see some of these stories, what they're doing now, they're humanizing the person. You know, they'll post videos where, I mean, there was recently one where a guy was killed, a police officer was killed, and he had 3 small children, and they showed a picture of the wife and the 3 small children, and all of a sudden everybody was kind of like, I get that. You know, now that's humanized to me. It's not just another story in the news. It's, you know, because most people, they turn on the news, they're like, oh, that's terrible. In Washington, this police officer was killed. You know, but then you start to humanize it by showing the fact that he was married, he had 3 kids. You know, that could be you. That could be, you know, that could be anybody.
And that's another thing. Just like you said, when you let people know that, hey, this person had a family, this person did this person did that, making them humanize, they can start to empathize with that and be like, okay, I kind of understand. Which is the same thing about talking about certain situations that people have been into, you know, and they feel in a certain way. Well, if you let them know, hey, I understand. Hey, I you have a point there. You know, not that I agree with you or you were wrong or whatever, but you have a valid point. You have a concern there that needs to be addressed. I think people will deal with that a lot better and hold that better when they deal with law enforcement officers.
Well, everybody wants to feel like their voice is heard.
That's correct.
You know, everybody wants to feel like their voice was heard. And at the end of the day, if you go and you have an interaction where you didn't feel like your voice was heard, that's probably more upsetting than it becomes the totality of the circumstances. Not only was I a victim, but I feel like I've been victimized twice. You know, like now I'm not getting the help that I thought I would. And that's a big thing we have to teach. That's the part of leadership that a lot of people forget about. We have managers and we have leaders. Managers are very capable of running any type of organization because they can go, as long as I have these 5 people here, those 5 people are where they're supposed to be. We have this done, this done, this done, this done. It's done.
Right. Check the boxes.
Check the boxes. But we haven't done anything to mentor or lead those people or develop those people. And if you don't do it, then no matter what the job is, I mean, they could be working in, you know, customer service. If you don't develop your people, then they don't grow. And if they don't grow, then they're the same person 4 years from now as they were today. But all part of that is teaching them how to have that empathy, those leadership theories, that attitude that, I mean, I can tell you, my mindset on burglaries changed when my car got burglarized. And I was like, you know what? I will treat every, and I can tell you when my car.
Did you leave your car doors unlocked?
So let me get you there, because I'm no longer married to that person, so I can say yes. I was at work, and she left the car unlocked and came back, and there was stuff missing. Car had been burglarized, and at first, my first reaction was, "Are you kidding me? You left the car unlocked? Like, that's cardinal rule number 1. You always lock your car." Like, he's like, "Yes, it is. Cardinal rule." So
sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
Yeah. So and I'm like, so at first I was upset that had happened, and for a reason that I knew was so dumb, you know, leaving the car unlocked. then the police officer that showed up walked up and goes, we don't solve these very often. And I knew the guy. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? I was like, are you going to dust? What are you going to do? And he's like, the car is wet. I guess I can come back later. And I was like, oh, really? I will see you later. Mm-hmm. And I went to work, and within about 3 hours, I had figured out who had broken into all the cars in that neighborhood and 2 others. And I was like, I guess they do get solved sometimes. That was my mentality. But I thought, I will never do that. I will never be that guy. I will never tell somebody that type of information.
Well, that's like telling them there's nothing we can do for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You never tell somebody there's nothing we can do for you. There's always something. You can point them in. They may not take the initiative after you give them the information or point them in the direction or get them the services. But I always hate when somebody calls up and somebody goes to a call or anything, and you just go, nothing we can do for you here. Mm-hmm. There's something. Even if it's not your department or something that you deal with, you can get them in touch with the right person.
And that situation is going to make people feel a certain way about the next time they call, or the next time something happens, or not even trust you.
Why am I going to call law enforcement? They'll never do anything for me anyway.
I'll just handle it myself.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why one of the positives is we never talk about what agencies work for. We just talk about from an objective standpoint. But you can see the differences between agencies now. As you look across the country, you can see bad leadership and good leadership. Mm-hmm. Look what's going on in New York City. There's been a lot of bad stuff that's been going on in New York City, and it's getting national notice. People are sitting back going, why is this happening? Why aren't they doing something about this? To a point where, people who are running agents, because it's national news.
Yeah.
So it affects Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, even though it's happening in New York.
Yep.
So now, because of bad leadership there, it's affecting good leadership in another area, to where now they have to take an even more proactive stance to say, hey, this isn't going to happen here because of this, and this. Yeah, but a bad case law or bad press in those situations, they impact law enforcement all across the country. Mm-hmm. But like I said, developing this transparency and moving in a positive light to where, leaders all across this country are saying, we're not just going to say this is how it is. Now we're going to say this is how it is and explain why. Mm-hmm. Because we have to do that now. If we don't, it continuously gets out of hand.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be difficult, like I said earlier, satisfied on both sides.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement has a job to do, and by all means, we're going to do our job. But in doing so, there's a way that we can go about doing it. And there's a lot of situations that people feel like they was mistreated and not done fairly by the system, and that's above our heads, but on a street level. If we could start to change the way people feel about law enforcement and about the way law enforcement feel about people, then maybe we can kind of coexist together and kind of minimize some of these national incidents like what's going on in New York. We can minimize that, try to stop those from taking place, which is the whole goal of what I'm trying to do. It's difficult trying to satisfy everybody, but everyone's not going to be satisfied with what I'm doing.
No, if you can bridge the gap.
Yeah, other people are gonna oh man, thank you very much, thank you, or you're jeopardizing what we're doing out here. But I tell you this much: other law enforcement officers that I work with that see what I do change the way they do their job sometimes.
Well,
I'm there,
you're being a leader. You're being, whether it's informal or formal, you're being a leader.
And the reason being is because some of the concerns, some of the things that's being addressed so far, when those situations take place, it's in their mind already. Okay, what should I do here? Or maybe I should take this type of approach. And that's the key. That's what I'm trying to do, is to change the way people approach things.
And you did time in the military, so you have life experience coming into things. You've gone through stuff in your life that you're able to utilize to explain things to people. There's a lot of younger guys that I talk to, and when you actually explain it to them from somebody's point of view, they're like, because they never had that experience before. If you have a kid and he's 22 years old, he's never been married, doesn't have any kids, he doesn't understand the problems that are involved in a marriage with children. And when you explain that to him, they're like, oh, I guess you're right.
My marriage with children, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Roses, my wife is an angel, my children are
Your wife
phenomenal.
is an angel, mainly because she
puts up with me.
stays with you. Yes.
Really?
My wife's blind, and I cook really well. That's it. That's the only reason Maria stays with me. Jesse, I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat. He just started to cry. It's okay. But taking that role as a leader, it's difficult sometimes because putting yourself out there can get noticed positively and negatively, depending on how you're doing things. We do the podcast, and we try to bring out people like you, like Renee, like Susan, all these people that have gone through things and are trying to turn it around or trying to use their experience as a positive way of doing it. Because when we brought Sam on the show, and we brought Susan on the show, people would have never thought that either of them had cleaned their lives up and were living positive lives now. I mean, Susan will tell you stories about, committing some pretty crazy crimes. Sam will tell you some stories about committing some pretty crazy stuff because of their addictions. The second that they got off their addictions, if you were to talk to Susan today, you wouldn't ever...
No, you wouldn't know that she...
had a past like that. I mean, extremely educated, positive person, an overall just amazing human being. You would never know that was their past. And, I've gone and spoken about drug education all over the state in different places. And one day I was speaking on to this group of doctors and about pain management and opiate abuse. And one lady was like, "Can I talk to you when we're done?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can talk to me." And so we walked outside, and she goes, "Yeah, I just want to," as she's walking out, she's like, "I just want to get your business card so we can do this some other time." Okay, that's not really why I'm here. 25 years ago, I was a hardcore addict. One guy gave me a shot. I got clean. This doctor hired me to basically be an office manager, and I've been clean and serene for 25 years. But I can't tell my story because I'll be judged. But I wanted you to know that there's not just one person out there. There's all these people out there who have gotten through it. Because on the law enforcement side of things, if we don't see somebody, we either think they're what? In prison or dead, So we don't actually get the follow-up. We don't get to hear the rest of the story. And for those stories are what people need to hear, that there is that hope, that there is that positivity, that there are guys like you that are willing to sit down and have the conversation that may be awkward, but it needs to be had.
Yeah. And people also need to see people that look like them that actually stands up for them as well. I'll tell you that right now. And that's just for
so I stand up for short, fat white guys.
Yeah.
But no,
Italian ones too.
Well, no, he doesn't. No. But you're right, because if I was trying to portray the same message you are, I would not reach the same community that you will.
Right.
So no, I get that.
So and it's just not just for my community. It's for everybody. This situation happens to white people. To Spanish people. It happens to everybody. But if you find yourself in this situation, that's what this is for. It's to be able to give you a platform to speak your voice, to have other law enforcement officers hear what it is that you have to say. And not only that, to be educated on why this happened to you. Because if you did wrong, you need to know why you did wrong. Because a lot of people don't really understand why. They just know we said you can't do this, or you broke the law, or whatever the case may be. Yes.
Why?
But this is why. Now you can go to jail and know why. So the next time, you won't get so upset.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
No, and when we started doing the podcast, we wanted to sit down and go, who would be good guests to come on and talk about, different topics. And we try to be diverse as possible because we want to reach a different listening base every single show. Every single show we want to reach a different listening base. That's why we do guests, and it's not just me and Chris bantering at each other like two fools, which we could do for an hour.
Oh, way past an hour. Yeah. Well, you give me a lot of material.
I do.
So it wouldn't be very
And as
difficult.
long as that tattoo's still on your arm, you give me a lot of material, my friend.
If the Mulan dragon's still there.
You did that yourself?
No, my daughter did that. That was
No,
her
no.
handwriting when she was 5.
Look at the dragon on his arm, bro. Don't worry about it.
I don't recall ever seeing that.
No, because
That's the one where he
I
almost
didn't have
passed
this one
out.
when we worked together.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, he almost
I got
passed
you.
out during that one, just so you know.
Yeah, she turned 5, so 4 years ago.
But we do the podcast. It's to reach a different community. But like I said, when we bring Susan and people like that on here, we don't want people to look at every addict that's on the street and go and write them off, because I look at the contributions Susan's given to the community, what Sam's done for the community. Drew has done awesome things. I mean, the guy helps recovery projects now.
Yeah.
He does aftercare. These are all things that I mean, people, I don't know what addiction looks like. Drew does. So when Drew does aftercare, he's like, I know what you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how I dealt with it. And that kind of knowledge, that kind of base is valuable. You know, I mean, Chris can go around and he can talk about having a boat. You know, he can connect with boat owners.
So what do you connect with? Buying just random crap that sits in your barn? Which the fact that you have a barn also bothers me.
I don't have any
You know
horses.
what he texted me the other day? He texted me, he goes, hey, some big machine came through my yard today and just cut up all the grass, and it cut up a tire. And my first response was, yeah, that's a tractor. Second off, why do you have a tire just sitting in your yard? And third off, how do you not know it was a tractor? Why is it just some big metal machine?
It wasn't a tractor. It was like a thresher or something. I don't know.
A thresher?
I don't know. It
was a shark just hanging out? This is what I have to deal with.
I don't know. I'm going to find out the name of that machine, and I'm going to send it to you. But it was awesome. But, yes, I do have a barn. No, I don't have any horses. And Maria won't let me have alpacas. I really want alpacas.
What?
God, she's got a brain. Because Jesus criminy.
Oh, my God. I feel
Jesus
sorry for her.
criminy. What is that?
Why would you want alpacas?
And what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
No, I want 2 alpacas, and I just want them to walk in the yard.
Why?
Because they're alpacas. Is there a reason
Yes.
to want alpacas?
Yeah.
Because it's not normal.
I
Yeah,
want
it's
monkeys
not
too,
normal.
but I can't have those either. Maria won't let me have one of those either.
Well, because she's got a full-grown one she's got to take care of. But an alpaca.
Yeah. Not a full-size llama. I want an alpaca. They're smaller.
Right, because you don't want anything full-size.
No,
I have
because
chihuahuas.
my whole family
Right.
is a petite family. So small dogs, small family, small alpacas.
Jesus Christ.
You said that twice now. I
I
don't
know.
know if I've ever heard that come out of your mouth.
I'm old.
You know, oh, criminy. Oh, you darn kids. Just wave
Stay
your fist
off
in
my
the air.
yard. Yeah.
You know, we want to thank you for coming on today and talking with us. If you haven't tuned in, check it out. Go ahead and plug it.
Yeah, it's you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube through my eyes with Leonard Jones. And what I'm doing is creating a platform for people to come out and speak their voice, and for have me and other law enforcement officers here, and to start a dialogue about what's going on to try to change the world.
No, we're good with that. You know, we do it from this standpoint. You do it from standpoint. That's why we kind of did our little crossover today.
The crossover.
Yeah, the crossover.
Not a collab. And then then you make an...
That's the X symbol. It's a crossover, man. Come on.
That's what I have to deal with.
You know, so Leonard, before you go, I got to tell you, Chris spent about 3 months reading a book on boat lingo. So now when he goes out to the sandbar, he's like,
Make it sound
"Oh,
like
I got
he's
some
been doing it
buoys
for
out there."
years.
You know,
Yeah.
You really got a boat now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't follow my Facebook page?
No, I
Team
didn't.
Cardinal Needs
I
a Boat?
didn't.
Man, it was
I
great.
didn't. I didn't even know about it.
Oh, well, see, there you go. But yeah, I follow you.
I know about it now. I know
Neither
about
did
it
Nora.
now.
It's old
Apparently.
now. I have a boat. I don't need it anymore. Before we go, let me tell you a story about Leonard. So I got a lot of funny stories. I don't think a lot of them are appropriate to tell, but one of them, him and I were riding together when he first started with us, when he used to work with us, and prior to being a law enforcement officer, Leonard was a cable guy up in North Florida. So we go-
Jacksonville.
okay, well, I don't know if you want to throw out Duval. So, and so we get a call about a down power line out in some neighborhood. So we're going out to it, and we get there, and it's across the road. I'm like, well, we're going to be here for a couple hours because we got to wait for FP&L to come out and get this power line. And Leonard gets out, and you got to understand Leonard, too. He's until you get to know him, I mean, he's talked a bunch here, but until you get to know him, he doesn't really talk a whole lot. It took about 2 weeks for him to start cracking jokes on me in the car. He looks at it, he's like, it's not power line, it's cable line. I'm like, I don't care, dude. It's staying there. He's like, no, it's just a cable line, man. We can move it. We could be out of here. I'm like, dude, we are not touching that cable. He's like, I got it. I'm like, no, don't go touch that cable. He's like, it'll be all right. Don't worry. He gets out of the car, and so I call Nora and I said, well, I'm about to lose my job. She goes, why? I go, because the trainee's about to grab a power line because he's convinced it's a cable line. He's going to throw it off the road. She's like, oh, all right. So he goes and grabs it ends up being a cable wire. He grabs it and starts shaking out in the middle of the road. And then chucks it to the side. He's like, I told you, it's cable.
Yeah, just cut it in half, get out of the race.
Right.
Now we can go. We didn't have to sit out there that much longer.
Right. Oh,
We
yeah.
was able to go.
Yeah, we saved about 4 hours, but still.
I'm surprised as soon as he started going like this, you just didn't put it in reverse and go.
I was in the passenger seat. But I was just like, oh, no, this is
how it ends.
Right.
This is how it ends.
so many other ways I could have gotten fired, and this is going to be the one.
One of the things that I would like to say as well is whenever you have some type of knowledge or education or anything, a platform, you always have to give back. You have to give back to the people that you know and the people that you can help. Instead of just thinking about yourself and doing whatever it is that you're doing, help other people. And that's what I'm trying to do as well here.
That's what we're trying to do here. Well, most part.
Yeah.
I bring Chris out every now and then.
When you guys go back and forth.
Yeah,
Right.
I bring Chris out and, let him get out of the house every now and then. Nora lets him come play for an hour. Then she brings him back and has him wash the boat. But, we do it because we want to try and better the community.
Right.
That's our only purpose. We don't get paid for it. You don't get paid for doing what you do.
Nope.
I wouldn't mind getting paid for it if anybody wants to start giving us money.
Yeah.
I mean,
getting paid was always a good thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah,
but
you're not opposed to it. I'll send you millions of yen, Chris. There you go.
Yeah.
But
Get a
you
bunch
know
of-
what? When you're
get a bunch
passionate
of-
about doing something, pay doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's we talk about it all the time. We come out here, we do this. Jesse's good enough to sit down with us and help us out, even when he's tired after being at a football game all day yesterday.
Go Gators.
Yeah. Well, I don't even want to. Either both those teams were terrible yesterday, but
I'm impressed that you know what football is.
I don't.
I can't
and
believe
I
you
even
don't
knew
even
that was bad.
watch football. I
don't.
can't believe.
I watch hockey.
Are we done?
Yeah.
I see what I mean. See what I have to deal with. But ask him if he can roller skate.
I can
Or
roller
ice skate.
I can ice skate. It's not pretty. I don't know how to stop. I just keep going in a circle. But
That was another thing you wanted to try. You tried joining the hockey team for a day.
yeah, that was work.
You could pretty much play goalie and was not
That
good
was
at
it. I could stop the puck. I wasn't moving.
When it was
just
hit at
hitting me. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in again. Thank Leonard for coming out.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And like I said, tune into his page, tune into our page. And thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Redbird, as always. And we will see you in a few weeks.